yesterday while streaming, I was browsing YouTube as usual. I was watching some videos, and then this video popped up on my feed, and I thought it was pretty amusing. It is a title that says Kobe Black Mamba's 2000 Exalt build versus Wave 30 Simulacrum 12 Link Frostblade. It's actually pretty popular, and I was actually wondering how I got so many views on or followers on Twitch one day. So shout out to this channel for helping out all the streamers get some what's it called publicity. I just found it really funny because the build is not really 2000 exalts, right? Just because the item costs 2000 exalts to craft does not mean that your build ends up being 2000 exalts, because it only costs one mirror and whatever the mirror fee is for that one rare item. So I just found it kind of interesting. But anyhow, at this point in time, I do believe the build is pretty much at its near completion until I'm able to get the claw on my hand. So I might be trying out a different build in the coming days. I was thinking about maybe making a Scion, trying out a fast leveling experience with Mage Blood and Hollow Palm, and then transitioning over to Spark Aura Stacker and trying out an Instacker with a little bit more defenses. I do think that Spark and Instacker can probably get more consistent rewards on Simulacrum, especially Spark. Spark actually seems pretty good overall. And Spark with March of the Legion playstyle is not as annoying to me as Smite, purely because you have a lot of time in between the auras. I think it's around 23 seconds because you have Malevolence, and you can also take a duration cluster, so you might even be able to bump it up to nearly 28 or 30 seconds. And Spark is actually god tier on Simulacrum, so that's something that I wanted to try out. And I also think that Instacker is a really strong build still. It has amazing clear. It is kind of a shame that every time I do the Instacker in Simulacrum, I get to like wave 20 and then I hit a brick wall, purely because I just don't have enough single target because the spec is not that great. I ended up trying a 9 link wand with the Squire, and I made a pretty big mistake in the fact that I forgot that the big problem with wanders and that you always have is the fact that you have to use two skills, because you use Kinetic Blast for your clear, and then you have to use Power Siphon Barrage for your single target. The problem with the Squire is that only one of your skills will be really strong, and then since your weapon doesn't really have any flat or anything else on it, then your other skill is going to be really weak, right? So even though the KB felt really good, the Power Siphon felt really bad. And also the problem is this weapon is only a 9 link and is not like an actual 12 link. So technically you can make a really good wand, but it's actually really unrealistic because the wand is pretty hard to craft. But I just wanted to go over this build real fast again, and then I'm going to showcase 4 different Maven kills with 4 different strike skills using the Divergent Melee Splash tech I showcased yesterday. And you can probably see that Divergent Melee Splash has made the fastest Maven kills I've done even faster. And you can also see at this point that the damage is pretty overkill for almost all content in the game, and that I can pretty much use any skill, like even Infernal Blow. And this sword really does allow you to plug and play any strike skill into the game and have it feel really good to play. And it was actually quite fun trying out different strike skills on Maven and Simulacrum. So at this point, my character is pretty much finished. Like I said before, we have the 12 link sword, this helm with the berserk effect. I could have got a better helm. I do think a better helm could be made. The way you can make the best helm possible is probably to awaken orb to get LE damage, or the nearby enemies take 9% increased elemental damage, and elevate a multi, and then you would have to do reforged influences to get the prefix aug influence and then Maven orbit. But that just makes the helm unnecessarily expensive for very little gain besides some multi. I do think Marilee's Fallacy is a very good amulet for this build. It kind of saved the sword in a weird way. But once I get the claw, I will probably swap over to a Strangle Drift on rare. A rare Strangle Drift, and I think it'll be pretty fun to corrupt it. I think Strangle Drift is only like 30x or so, so if a lot of you guys are trying out like Unatol or unable to afford Unatol, Strangle Drift is a pretty good option actually. I think it's actually only like 10% DPS off, which is not a huge difference as you also get like 5% life if you use tenacity. The Squire, and is an amazing item. I do like how much build diversity it adds, and it changes the game with Divergent Melee Splash and Divergent Inspiration, which gives you what, 48% reduced mana cost, and then this thing gives you 21% more splash damage. And then I use Trinity, Awaken out of Lightning, Awaken out of Cold, and Infernal Blow. The funny part about skills is that the best skill for Simulacrum overall ended up being Frostblaze with Chain and Chain instead of Trinity, and that actually ended up being the best. I think flat damage scales the sword way too well, as we have almost no flat damage without these two gems. So you can't really drop these two gems, and I still like Divergent Melee Splash for the actual OP damage. And I was able to get the most consistent rewards with a 12-link Frostblaze with Chain and Divergent Melee Splash. So I was actually able to get 7 rewards a lot of times, which was pretty much undoable. So that's the nice part about Simulacrum. It really helps you judge like what build has the most insane clear. So then we have the Brass Dome. This is pretty much an unupgradable piece of gear as it's near perfect rolled with the 2 best rolls. Enlighten +1 level is pretty big for the level 5 Enlighten, and this is also really good if you weren't using the 12-link sword. Now, Amethyst Ring. This ring could be recrafted for sure. I could have reforged while keeping suffixes, or doing suffixes cannot be changed, and use Veil Chaos Orb until I got an elemental roll instead of 4-8 cold damage to attacks. This ring I liked because it gave me a little bit more of a life buffer. So it gave me 7% increased life. And then it also has elemental damage roll, the T1 Ashling one. It also has T1 Wed, and it also has life. And then lastly, it has elemental weakness and some res. So it's a very, very good ring. I don't remember how much I bought it for, probably around 8 to 10x. This gloves has been invaluable for me because it has given me the chance to avoid being stunned. There's also a shit ton of damage. Headhunter with Wither resist, and then this pair of boots does have T1 res, has elusive, has lightning resist, and is overall very, very strong. So Flask, I do think Vessel of Vinktar is a very good option if you're using Purity of Elements, as you can't get shocked, so you can get extra lightning damage to attacks. And I was actually thinking about using it, but the problem with that Flask is it uses 50 charges, but this Flask over here has 40 of 60. The bad part about the War Flask that people ask, wow, someone's willing to offer 30C. What is it? It must be a blight map or something. But a lot of people ask if you should use Starlight Chalice. Starlight Chalice is really not that strong because you only inflict exposure when you use the Flask, and it's not an aura that's around you. But if you want it to be more defensive, I would drop it for a Jade. Now, another option is you could also use a Mage Blood in this build, and you would be a lot more defensive. I'd probably drop all these flasks and use all utility flasks except for Bottle Faith, because I think Bottle Faith is still one of the best damage flasks. Now, in terms of the tree, I do think that the large cluster and the medium cluster setup is the best. Double damage is actually just crazy. If you watch any of the upcoming Maven kills, you'll see that when double damage procs, Maven just gets deleted. And Fuel to Fight is like an 8% DPS gain on Pob, and it's pretty much unbeatable for 2 points. For any 2 points on a tree, I think the best 2 points on a tree are like 6-7%. These 2 points are pretty strong. These 2 points are pretty strong over here. And this is just what I found throughout, like trying to optimize the tree, is that cluster jewels with the Glorious Vanity Overleach are pretty much unbeatable for the large cluster nodes. Like, it's pretty hard to beat a 20% attack damage, 6% attack speed node, or 30% attack damage and a 15% attack speed node. Now, for these points here, I mainly take the increased effect of non-damaging ailments because of Simulacrum. This actually allows me to get up to 10% to 11% brittle on bosses. Now, next I wanted to talk quickly about skill viability and the lack of harvest and why Ritual League is liked by so many people. So I don't know if people check like Reddit ever, but I do check Reddit from time to time, and it does seem like there's a pretty negative sentiment on PoE. So where was this? So there's a lot of people that said that they didn't really like how GGG gave up on this league. I don't know where the thread is. but it actually was really really popular. It had like 1,500 or 2,000 comments. But basically, the whole deal of the whole the whole thing is that people don't feel like they have a build to re-roll to. And that is actually something that's very common, because even when people ask me what's a really good all-around build, I actually struggle to come up with an answer for that question, because I want to answer something that can do all content in the game. And there's just not that many chase builds in the game right now that can do everything. And it's purely because of too much nerfs has stacked up, and they didn't really buff anything to a great degree. They did do a defense rework, but a lot of the defense rework has to have you take a lot of points on the tree. The masteries are probably like a net even, and in some cases a nerfs for some builds, because they made the traveling nodes to be weaker in order to compensate for the crit mastery or like any of the masteries you take. But the fact of the matter is that you have to take an extra point to take the masteries. And as you can see, the cluster nodes are still all very, very strong. So having to take extra points away from clusters to put into masteries ends up being pretty bad in general. And most of the really strong parts of the tree now that you get is a lot of defensive reworks. The life mastery is actually huge for defense. Ghost Shroud or whatever is super. Ghost Dance is insanely strong. And spell suppression is also really strong. But all of these stuff have to have you take a lot of investment. And before, a lot of people were solving the defenses on soft core with just acrobatics and phase acro and calling it a day. But now people are also running Determination as an aura, Grace as an aura. Now, in order to run these auras, you have to spend points to take Charisma. And these were things that people never did in previous builds before. Very rarely do people really take reservation efficiency nodes. So you can see here, I'm already taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 nodes that I would normally never take. Now, some of these are super, super strong, like Warcry, minimum 10 power, Fortify Mastery, melee hits Fortify are super strong. But before, people wouldn't even take the Fortify nodes, right? So that's already 4 points, 10, 12, like 15, 20 points that people would never take on a tree. And all those points could be used for damage. So at this point, a lot of people ended up sacrificing damage on their passive tree to get more survivability that GGG promised them. And it ends up being that builds just do not have the damage anymore. If you look top to bottom, for even on like the people who like do the tooltip warrior thing, you can see that the damage is just down across the board compared to Expedition League. And the number of skills that are viable is very, very small. And you just see for yourself that Toxic Rain is still like one of the top builds. What this means is that there's not that many people that re-rolled and got to a high level, and there's a lot of people who got to a high level with Toxic Rain because the build is super, super tanky. So here you have like Cast on Crit number 1, Toxic Rain number 2, Corrupting Fever Tornado Shot, or like just Tornado Shot Bow number 3. Then you have Lightning Strike, which I believe is one of the best overall around builds, both on the Raider and the Berserker version. Then you have Summon Skeletons, and then you have Traps that's probably not even being played anymore. Flicker Strike is up here. I think this is another really good all-around build. And then I think also Forbidden Rite is super, super strong. So you do see like there's a lot of builds that don't really have the all-around full package. A lot of people struggle to do simulacrums or single target with both Toxic Rain and Corrupting Fever. And I do think that's really limited the build diversity. There's a lot of people on the thread who even said that they quit the league purely because they couldn't find another build to re-roll to, and they didn't really enjoy Toxic Rain. I do think that is a cautionary tale in too many nerfs and not having widely available crafting, because you can see here, with the sword, you're able to make so many skills viable, and having the sword is the equivalent to having Harvest Craft unlocked for like the pre-ritual, like ritual Harvest Craft, right? Because if you had really good gear, GGG gear on every single slot, you can pretty much make any skill work. But most people don't have the money, they don't have the currency, and they don't have the crafting knowledge or means to obtain that gear anymore that was easily obtainable in ritual. So you see that there's so many more limited in builds, and me being able to even recommend an overall build is actually a hard thing. And I do think that Instack Flicker, Lightning Strike, and Stealth Cast Forbidden Rite are my top builds. And I will be trying out, or Stacker Spark. I think it's not bad. And Int Stacker Wanderer with really good gear should be good enough, hopefully. But now I just wanted to showcase 4 different melee Maven kills with Infernal Blow, Wall Strike, Frost Blades, and Lightning Strike, and that will allow you to compare them. They're all pretty much the same, but I know people like to see how the Divergent Melee Splash tech actually works on single target. So I'm going to demonstrate that it can be used on any strike skill, and hopefully you enjoy it. Stop at the end of the line. Nice. I don't think I could really kill it much faster. He just told me he's gonna sub. He didn't say anything about why he was gonna sub. Amulet's the best upgrade in terms of DPS, but I don't know if it's actually worth it for you. Nice 1000x build, as video said, yeah. Oh shit, I wasn't paying attention again. Oh, I don't believe I dropped that in the middle of there. He's so bad. I actually really don't like Maven as a fight. Very badly designed fight in my opinion. No, I could have killed her. Damn it. Oh, that was a good one. That's probably one of the fastest Mavens I've ever done. The fact that you can make Frostblade looks like that is fucking insanity. Frostblade is like a shit skill too. That's one of the splash noise.
Find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right.
A lot of it just depends on the double damage proc. It's kind of stupid. If you get the double damage proc, you literally instantly kill her. Frost is looking even better. Is it though? It's because I got a lucky proc, honestly.
I'm just going with the gut. Never had a doubt, felt like this is just a must. Put me in perspective,
clean boss killer.
Everybody tuning in, but this is just for us now. We know I ain't balling yet. Hoes wanna holler, oh no, I don't call them back. Girl, let me see you hold it down, we gon' have a blast. I just wanna know what you gonna do with all of that. Ain't gotta say a word, I know what's up. You can have it all, watch me rip it off. I'll admit it, you got me feeling hella love. Even when it's going down, know that we gon'
no.
young shot caller. Always been
Are you serious? Could have killed her. You just need to do one ability. I just do not pay attention to this at all. Is it this one? Oh man, I got lucky, I guess. It's pretty good. I think those are... Wall Strike is weird. Why is Wall Strike so bad for it's just not consistent. 2 skill points will give you a good amount. Not really, like 7% damage. Is it a strike skill though? How much is Maven rid? How much the orb goes for? I think Maven's like... Wait, I actually overpaid for my Mavens a lot. Unless they're like 0.7x. Maven orb is like 4x, I think. Whoa, what happened there? This, I guess, is double damage proc. Anytime you see the boss disappear, it's because of double damage proc. No, I didn't start a hardcore character. I was trying to level up to 99, and there was some DDoS attacks on the West Coast servers that affected like Blizzard too, and so I died. Yeah, like a lot of the Blizzard Battle.net services went down. Static Strike is bad because it's bad base damage, and what you get for it is intricate excuse. Yeah, I mean, it's not an excuse, it happened. And PoE got affected. Like, there's people here who got the game frozen. Like, host is not even an issue anymore. That guy is made of paper. Odds of dropping is 20%, I think. And this, I mean, Maven is not usually this fast for most people to do. Wait, what? Huh? Man, look at that. I actually despise the skill. It probably is worth it at 12x even. So how much currency streamers made in leagues? I mean, you make a lot of currency because you play the league a lot. You play a lot more than the average person. You try heavy strike. I can't. I don't think heavy strike can be used with a sword. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I loved everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. I mean, every single skill probably will look the same at this damage level with the divergent melee splash tech. Would smite work? Yeah, smite would also work. Smite would actually probably be pretty good because it has a very high damage effectiveness. Where is she? Kobe, I still play this even after a few weeks after playing head on one mirror. Yeah, I mean, you can always find ways to optimize your build, although it's probably becoming harder and harder, but there is the 12-link claw now. Where'd she go? Oh my. Oh my. Because I like the stream. Anyhow, overall, I hope everyone enjoyed the 12-link stuff. I don't know if I'll be playing this much more because I kind of want to try out a different build as I'm kind of bored in Simulacrum at this point. I did get to like 55% of my level and then I lost like 4 portals because there's like a DDoS attack on the West Coast servers that affected like BattleNet, and I guess the PoE server went down or something. Just briefly for the West Coast servers. I don't really know what happened. All I know is the game froze and character died. But basically, if you could choose between Mage Blood or mirroring the 12-link sword and getting a Squire, I would probably choose this if you actually enjoy strike skills. You can pretty much plug and play any strike skill. Out of all of the strike skills, Frost Blaze, Lightning Strike, Infernal Blow, and Wild Strike, I do have to say the winner is Frost Blaze purely because of the strike range and the amazing clear and the beneficial clear you can get from just putting in a chain gem if you have enough damage. It was the best overall for rewards in Simulacrum, best overall clear, and even for single target, it felt the best because of the strike range. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Mage Bloods, and Exalts than me, and I hope you'll join me in on my journey of Aura Stacker and Instacker. And thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time. Bye.